Josh Pate is in studio. He was looking up some odds as to who had the better chance to make the college football playoff between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We'll have to wait a few more weeks before we see that game, but what did you discover? I assume it was FanDuel that you were looking up?
It was, and drum roll please, Mick Fleetwood, yes, we do have Vandy with better odds to make the playoff, well they do, than Tennessee right now, which I find a little interesting. I'm not doubting them. I can't. Contractually, it says I can't doubt them on air. But I am interested because they're both sitting there. I guess it's because one already has 2 losses and one has 1. That's really what that comes down to.
Mm-hmm. This weekend could go a long way in determining that, because if they both win, both playing one half of the Red River rivalry, Vanderbilt going down to Austin, Tennessee playing Oklahoma, then it comes down to potentially that regular season finale, right? So for sports books, would it simply be about how they feel about that game at Neyland Stadium? And that could see a shift there if they both win this weekend, which I suppose there are varying degrees of confidence. Vanderbilt fans probably feeling more confident than Tennessee fans.
I think the better thing to look at, though, so yeah, you're right about that. But if Vandy goes and loses to Texas, then both of them have 2 losses. Then they're on a collision course if they take care of business, which is always a dangerous thing this time of year. But if they take care of business, then it's just heads up in Neyland. That is a Saturday game that week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend.
It's just basically winner grabs the belt and goes to the playoff. I would assume that's how that sets up if they're both 2 lost teams.
But is that such a slam dunk, Josh? Because I'm looking at the top of the SEC standings right now, and the fact that A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia don't play each other for the rest of the season, and they all have 1 loss or less. And now I'm thinking about the idea of, okay, 10-2, you get in. That's been the thinking. But do you, as a 5th SEC team, or do you need an Ole Miss slip up at Florida like what happened last year to give you some help?
I think it comes down to a couple of things. What happens in the ACC? Because there is a reverse doomsday scenario in the ACC where they get like 3 teams in, which would be insane because it's not a 3-team league. I'll go back to that in a second. B, what happens to Notre Dame? Notre Dame, do they sit there at 10-2? There's also a world where Notre Dame doesn't lose another game, but because of the way the ACC plays itself out, you get yourself in a situation where Virginia and Georgia Tech and Miami are all 1 loss or 2 loss. And if Miami's sitting there on the 2-loss bubble, they're going to get in over Notre Dame because they played Notre Dame and they beat Notre Dame, and that bumps Notre Dame out. So this is what God gave us November for, firstly. Secondly, I still somehow I always tend to think this will work itself out. And if you have a couple of 2-loss SEC teams there, with the profile of the conference this year, Big Ten message boards notwithstanding, I think it'll work itself out, and the winner of that game goes to the playoff.
Who do you have more confidence in this weekend? Vanderbilt in Austin against a Texas team that we saw dig out at Mississippi State. Arch Manning, maybe status in question, or Tennessee at home against Oklahoma under the lights, where they've been excellent under Heupel, unless they're playing Georgia, with John Mateer, who's not been himself since the thumb surgery.
Yeah, I got confidence in Tennessee this weekend. I was all over Mateer. And by the way, look, man, people are trying to dunk on me for taking Mateer for my Heisman pick like he wasn't number 1 on the Heisman odds before he had his literal throwing thumb surgeried on during the season. I will allow dunking on me when it's fair. That's not even fair. So, yeah, he's not right. They're not right. You can... One of the big secrets that was exposed last week is you can really throw the ball on their secondary. Like, their front's really good, secondary a little suspect. So I have confidence that Josh Heupel in Tennessee will take care of business. Vandy, every game's going to be a coin flip. So Vandy, every game, I love how they can pull it out into the deep end. They can make it ugly. I have no doubt they'll do that again this weekend. Can you imagine telling a Texas fan how uncomfortable a Vandy visit to Austin is going to make you? And it's not like I'm looking at Vandy this year, and it's not the Indiana thing like you were talked about. It's not that they're tossing teams into a wood chipper like UCLA got body bagged in the first quarter last week. That is not what Vandy's doing. Vandy's requiring 4 quarters. Missouri badly outgained them, badly first downed them, badly total played them, all that stuff. And Vandy's really situational, and they take care of business. I think Missouri crossed the 50 7 times and scored 10 points. That's Vanderbilt football. So that's going to come into Austin, and it just so happens it's coming in there in a year where you can't really score unless your back's against the wall in Starkville, Mississippi, and even then you need a punt return in front of Brandon Walker to make it happen. So, buddy, I don't know. I'm leaning more Tennessee.
The joy you seem to take in that shot at Brandon Walker.
I don't love seeing other people's downfall, but there's an exception to every rule. And you got to understand.
I felt so bad for you.
It's one thing if you're doing the horns down and you're Oklahoma or you're like, I don't know, pick a school. If Ohio State did horns down, I'm like, okay, you're Ohio State. If I got a Mississippi State fan with time left on the clock, throwing horns down, and it's a public figure and you're filming yourself do it, that's an invitation. That's like a wedding style invitation to get drug all over the internet. And I just happen to have the truck with the hitch on the back. That's all I was.
It was cruel for that touchdown pass to be caught right in front of his face. Like, you know who Brandon Walker is, right? He's the Barstool Sports personality. I don't know if the audience does. I'm sure a contingent of them do. But, like, for him to be, because I followed this along. It was a ridiculous thing. We were doing the Fox Sports radio show while the game was playing out. It was complete and total nonsense. And I'm just seeing all these different things as I'm scrolling Twitter. Brandon Walker is in the stands, and all of a sudden he's in a box, and then now he's running down to the sideline because he wants to celebrate. Now he's standing in the back of the end zone, and just to see the progression of the fear and the pain and all of the things that every sports fan within the sound of our voices today has experienced at some point in their life. But my God, is that tough.
Some more than others, though. Some have experienced it a lot more than others, and that was the cruel irony of it all. Is it's Mississippi State, and they had Tennessee on the ropes and lost. They had Florida on the ropes last week and lost. And then you're up by 17 on Texas with under 10 minutes to go. And somehow you go to overtime, and not only does it happen to you, but the dagger gets thrust into your chest right there in front of you, and all the network cameras have Texas player catching the touchdown and you in the background with this completely stone-faced look, and you just know, like, it's happening again. It's just emotion is washing over you.
And it's not even Arch throwing the touchdown pass. It's the backup. Former Troy Trojan.
It's a beautiful thing. Did I see that you will be at SMU when they host Miami this weekend?
I have never been to a game at SMU until this weekend, and I am going out there. Miami in town. SMU, man, look, last week was a week where everybody that was in a game we were potentially going to go to this week lost. Penn State, Ohio State would have been the game, but that's long since been off the radar. I think game day is going to Salt Lake City for Cincinnati, Utah. I'd already been to a Utah game, though. So I was trying to go to a place that I haven't been, and I've never been to a game at SMU.
So Miami gets right against the mighty Stanford Cardinal after losing to Louisville. Jeff Braun, by the way, good for one of those a year, it feels like. And I know Carson Beck had to melt down a little bit and then melt down afterwards in the press conference. Not actually melt down, but from a media standpoint, that's not the kind of look optically that you want from your starting quarterback, where he's basically calling out players for running the wrong plays, even though he himself did not have a great game. What is Miami in the landscape of college football currently after you saw them stumble here?
I think they're back to their usual unknown selves. It's back to being really fair to doubt them. Like, at this point, a couple of weeks ago, I was all on board with saying, hey, it looks like they've really, really shored up a lot of what remained as like loose parts, wobbly pieces of that organization. But you drop a game to Louisville coming out of a bye, I believe. Louisville is a good team. Like, Louisville is not a terrible team. And it kind of got painted as they lost to a terrible team.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. But the problem was, you were favored by 2 touchdowns for a reason at home off a bye, and you lose it. And so it's not that you're out of anything. You're still in everything. But what it did for me is it took them, and I kind of put them, like during an election season, a state goes from safely lean left or right to toss-up. I kind of took Miami's magnet and put it back in the toss-up category, because now everything that I doubted about you in the past, I'm probably going to doubt about you again. And the only way that you're going to be able to overcome that is you're going to have to win all your remaining games, and then you're going to have to really show that you got your stuff together come playoff time. That's what it's going to have to take at this point.
What's on the show tonight?
Well, we're going to do game previews. We're going to have the audacity to talk about football games. We're going to probably weave that into a lot of extracurricular coaching activity. Who's going to take the LSU job? Is that the last one that's going to open up? If someone takes that job, who backfills the job that's vacated by the person that took the LSU job? It used to be that all this happened in December. And now it's not even Halloween. It's very scary stuff.
Josh Pate at Josh Pate CFB, Josh Pate's College Football Show, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the podcast if you cannot watch him live. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys.
Before you go, prove me wrong. Freddie Freeman should go into the Hall of Fame as a Dodger.
I'm out.
I'm Buck Reisig. It's 104.5 The Zone.